Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off talking about AYANEO, and AYANEO has just unveiled the Pocket DMG, or rather teased it. The full unveil is on May 18th. Unfortunately, at this point in time, I don't have a whole lot of details for you. I don't know the price, I don't know the specs. And I don't know what's on the front of this device, if it's just going to be a D-pad, if there's going to be a joystick, if there are going to be two joysticks, I really don't know. Recently, AYANEO released the Pocket S, featuring a Snapdragon G3X Gen 2. If you wanted to see it in action, I'll drop a link to ETA Prime's video in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. The price of this starts at about, I think, $500. Which makes me think the Pocket DMG will start at about $300 or possibly even $350. I could be completely wrong here, but who knows. And speaking about handhelds, next up we're talking about arguably one of AYANEO's biggest competitors, AYN. And AYN has just unveiled their next handheld here, weighing in at 320 grams. It does have a mini LED screen, and it looks like the successor to a PSP or even a PS Vita. Unfortunately for this one as well, I don't have any information on full specs, full price, or even release date. And on a side note here, also for AYN, they've teased the Odin 2 Mini. We don't know the specs, we don't know the price, nor the release date. Just that it's probably going to be smaller than the Odin 2. And for reference, AYN stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or All You Need, depending on how you want to interpret that. And continuing to speak about gaming handhelds, next up we're talking about the Anbernic RG35XXSP. And Retro Gamecore has just posted a brand new video of it. So in his video, no surprise, he compares it directly against a Game Boy Advance SP. And interestingly, it's a lot thicker. Now the big thing here is that the Anbernic can do a whole lot more than the Game Boy Advance SP, and arguably for a lot less cost. The price of the RG35XXSP is reported to be about $59 US. Next up, we're quickly talking about PS5 sales figures, and apparently as of March 31st of this year, the PS5 has sold 59.2 million units. They say here this is slightly behind the PS4 in the same time frame, which means that PS5 may not outsell the PS4. Now to date, the PS4 has sold about 117.2 million units, just about double the amount of PS5 sales. So PS5 has a long way to go if they want to beat the PS4, and based on the figures so far, it doesn't seem likely. And based on the reports, the PS5 shipped about 4.5 million units in the last quarter. If they keep up that pace, it would take them about 3.5 years, give or take, to catch up to the PS4. I don't necessarily think that is likely, but who knows. And interestingly here, in the last quarter, the PS5 shipped about 5 times more than the Xbox Series X and S. Next up, if you're a fan of Dead by Daylight, the same studio just released a brand new roguelite called What the Fog, and this one will cost a few bucks. However, if you watch the trailer for it, at the end it says get the game for free with a behavior account. If you are curious about this one, I'll drop a link to the Steam page and the behavior page in the description below, and feel free to check it out. Next up, we're quickly talking about Square Enix. Now on Monday, Square Enix shared their financial outlook on how things were going so far, and things were not good. Final Fantasy was underselling. They didn't expect to earn as much as they initially anticipated. And as a result here, the stocks have dropped significantly, almost 20% in a very short period of time. Now, I wouldn't say this is necessarily doom and gloom for the company. I mean, they're still up substantially over the last 5 years and still doing better than they were in December. Now, it's worth pointing out, I'm not certain if it was Square Enix themselves who thought they were going to earn a reduced amount this year, or if it was the analysts making the prediction based on the numbers. Either way, though, the stocks have dropped quite a bit. Next up, we're talking about some Linux stuff, and Manjaro has just released 24.0 Wednesday. This one features Linux kernel 6.9. The flagship version of Manjaro uses XFCE, but it's also available with KDE Plasma 6 or GNOME 46. Next up, we're still talking about Linux, and apparently the brand new Snapdragon X Elite CPU is gearing up support for Linux, which is absolutely amazing. And for reference here, the Snapdragon X Elite ARM-based CPU is said to be appearing in laptops this year. To be honest with you, if these Snapdragon X Elite CPUs are as good as they say they're going to be, I'm curious to see if ARM support picks up. Next up, we're quickly talking about Ghost of Tsushima's Director's Cut on PC. And if you wanted to play this game on the Steam Deck, it will work, but there's not going to be multiplayer. So they say here, you may notice that Steam marks the game as unsupported for Steam Deck. This is due to the Legends co-op multiplayer mode requiring Windows to access PlayStation Network integrated features. That is super unfortunate. Unfortunately, I don't know if this applies to Linux in general or just to the Steam Deck, but at the same time here, I wish this wasn't a requirement. And speaking about the Steam Deck and also Linux, next up we're talking about RetroDECK. RetroDECK aims to be an all-in-one emulation solution for the Steam Deck and also Linux PCs. And RetroDECK just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, RetroDECK version 0.8.1b is the latest update. They've updated most emulators, engines, and the stable and nightly cores in RetroArch. Additionally, they've got a BIOS checker now, support for the 3DO, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Neo Geo CD, and some other hashes for existing systems. And the compression tool for better PS2 compression and PSP.chd support. RetroDECK is 100% free, it's open source, and I'll drop a link to it in the description below. Feel free to check it out. Next up, we're talking about Nintendo Switch emulation with Suyu, and from the ashes, Suyu is rising again. It appears they're in the process of rebuilding a proper dev team. Progress has been made, but they're not fully complete just yet. If you are excited about this one, my advice here is the same as it was before. Be patient. It's going to take the devs a while to figure this out to be able to actually make improvements and move this forward. And last up here, we're talking about arguably the best Nintendo Switch emulator out there right now, Ryujinx, and Ryujinx got a number of updates. So as of version 1.1.1305, they've added an auto theme option in the settings menu. And they say here this adds an option to follow the OS theme, either light or dark. In version 1.1.1304, it fixes rendering and Castle Crashers Remastered, and fixes missing shadows in certain minigames in Mario Party Superstars. Ryujinx is currently on version 1.1.1310, and I see no signs of them slowing down. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.